Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing uh, the Synoptic assessment for your level 2 qualifications. It's called Business Environment Synoptic Assessment. It is originally in the previous AQ 2016 qualification called Foundation Synoptics. So it is called FYSA, I think, or FSYA, Foundation Synoptic Assessment. Okay, so that one is now being phased into a new exam code. It is almost identical, but it slightly differs on the number of questions and number of written tasks you expect to do comparative to the previous qualification. And then also the exam code itself, it may be BESY, but the subject itself, it's under the business environment a module that is called BESN. So please don't get confused when it comes to why I have BESN for the module, but the exam is BESY because it's a synoptic. Synoptic means it combines all your previous learned modules like your bookkeeping transaction, introduction to bookkeeping, and then also you had your principle of bookkeeping control and your principle of costing. Those all three core units will be tested all together with your business environment unit to become this business environment synoptic assessment. Luckily, most of the time, this is the last exam you're going to do now if you're doing AQ 2022. If you were on AQ 2016 still, you will be doing synoptic, but it will be slightly different exam, but you will still have to do SAGE, which is your accounting software module. But in this new qualification, accounting software is no longer part of it. So you're absolutely fine thinking, oh, this is my next step all the way to level 3. So hopefully, guys, we'll look into this and then we will do a little bit more in there. Okay, so here, if you notice this is I'm doing as a generic exam. Therefore, you have to look at task 4 and 7. They will not be giving you marks for that. They are written tasks. This is a human marked. Therefore, in your real exam, unlike the other exam, this will take more time for your results to appear on your screen. Normally, all the new qualification now, the exam time is now instantaneous for all the other modules, like if you're ITBK, POBC, PCTN, those exams now will be almost instantaneous. You get the results like within an hour, sometimes even in 10 minutes. I had students coming and telling me, I just logged out, come out of the room, and I had an email saying my results were out. So I was very surprised how quick these are all now being released. So this exam, on the other hand, will not be the same. You have to wait for about 5 to 6 weeks for your results to appear in the My AAT site, and then obviously get a confirmation email when your results going to be out. Okay, so let's look into this exam. But before we go into it in detail, just to let you know, for the written task, I will be just putting some points there. I will not be typing everything in. It's just going to waste everybody's time there. We'll discuss what they expect you to do, how the answer is going to be structured, and then also what is your techniques there in case you feel like, oh, I'm not really good at writing. We will find a way to work together to see whether we can get something out of it as well. Because normally any questions there, they are marks you're going to leave behind if you don't attempt the question. So there is a way you can at least try, at least get something out of it instead of doing nothing when it comes to written tasks. All right, I have my tools of trades already. Remember, in your exam, make sure you have a calculator. And then, of course, you may ask for blank papers. The examiner may be able to supply you with one. By here, though, let's look at the first question. Let's start with continue. And the timer starts. It's for 2 hours. You have 7 questions to answer this 2 hours. And let's see how it goes. First one they have here is, this task is about different business types and their functions. So it's mostly theoretical based, this unit. And then there are certain things you may have to use a slight bit of a calculation, but mostly it's theoretical and practical sense of it, how to organize your workload, how you respond to certain ethical queries. So let's have a look at this here. Identify whether the following statements about the entity concepts are true or false. So entity concept, what it is. Financial accounts can only be about one entity at a time. So you straight away looking at a keyword here. only one entity at a time, because normally financial accounts can be done for partnerships, sole traders, or for limited company. Therefore, limited companies can be like multiple companies or a combination of them. For that one, they call it consolidated statements. So there is not one entity. There are multiple entities under one umbrella. So therefore, this statement is not true. It says only can be. That's wrong. Okay. Then look at the next one here. Each transaction is treated as an entity in its own right. No. What transactions are not entity themselves? Entities are something you have to identify as a body, like a business. A transaction is not an entity itself. It's just a type of transactions within an entity. So that is wrong. Business activities should be kept separate from those of the owner. Yeah, of course, that is the purpose of your dual entity. Okay, so what are you going to look at it? Your separate entity, we're looking at it now. Your business, it for the purpose of accounting, is separate to the owner. Why? When the owner gives the money to the business, we owe that money back to the owner. So therefore, we're creating ourselves a liability of a capital. So therefore, owner is now a third party. For me, as a business, we have to keep that owner separately. Same as if the owner takes something out of the business, also it has to be recorded. That means the owner owes that back, or he has to take away from his capital invested for anything he takes out of the business, like cash or inventory. It can be. All right. So the answer is true for that. The next one we have here, as there are two owners who can only operate as a partnership. So the word again, only, it does not make no judgmental, what do you call, assumption towards the business itself. If there are two owners, they can still operate as a company. They don't have to do as a partnership. But of course, doing a partnership is easier than doing a company. But the word only means that's not true, because they can still register it as a company there. Okay, so I'm going to say false for that. The next one is profits do not have the shared do not have to be shared equally in a partnership. Absolutely right. Because if there are two partners, does it have to go 50-50? It cannot be always guaranteed, because each partner may have different investment in the business. Therefore, sharing equally, it's not always a given. Sometimes if they invest the same amount in, still they can share the profit unequally. The reason, it depends on what work they do for the business. If they basically have an agreement, say, all right, okay, they have invested the same amount, but the profit shared on a uneven, um, uh, what is that again, a proportion, could be because the first person might have admitted the second person later in the business and agreed to a different structure. So it does not always have to be same. So here I'm going to say true. The last one itself, if they set up as a partnership and want to expand the business, they can only do this if they issue shares. They do not issue shares as a partnership. Okay. For a company, a limited company, it will issue a share if they want investment, like new investors or shareholders within the business. For the partnership, they don't have to issue a share there. So the answer is going to be incorrect. Next one is, your friends have decided to set up a limited company and have asked you some question about what records they need to keep. Identify which one of the following statements is correct about their records. They must complete a paper copy of your tax return. If they make a loss, they don't need to file their financial statement. All the account records can be stored in the cloud, because one of those things is correct, which is the last one. Because the first one, they must complete a paper copy of your tax return. No, nothing like that. You can do that online as well. So the paper copy is irrelevant here. Must is another word. Must means you can only do that. That is certainly not right. If they make a loss, they don't need to file a financial statements. Of course, when you made a profit or loss, you still have to file your financial statements if you record as a set up as a limited company. But the last one, it says can be stored on the cloud. Their accounts absolutely fine there. So that is the third answer. Okay, so the next one is we're looking at, due to the economic environment, A business which sells all its product online has seen increased demand and has increased production to cope with this. So identify which function of the business following statements related to. Ensure there is enough money to purchase raw material for the production. Who you think it is? Is it finance, operation, or sales or marketing? Because anything to do with investment will be done by finance department. Satisfy customer needs in the most profitable way. So that way you sell that to the amount of profit you can make, but also keep your customer happy. That's all down to your sales and marketing department. Improving the customer service skills of the call center staff, that's going to be with your what is that, human resources department, because they have to hire people with expertise how to handle these kind of queries. Not everybody can do everything, you see. So HR has the responsibility of hiring the people who are most suitable for the given position available in the business. So I'm going to press answer and let's move on. I think I have answered everything. Bit thirsty, I don't know why. Keep on drinking water. This task is about finance function, its information requirement and sources, and its role within the wider organization. This task contains part A to F. You have recently been promoted. You have been asked to provide support to Asha, who has joined your organization as an AAT trainee. Many of you might be there. Your manager has suggested that you produce a document to include information that is important. So we're looking at what is the how you're going to be working together with the new employee. This should include information of the areas you found difficult to understand when you first joined. So obviously you're going to walk, let Asha, walk in the same path as you walk, but then you also understand how you approached it when you actually employed first time there. And then obviously now you know how things works and you're going to share that expertise with her. So here they're asking you, when you're preparing financial statement, who are the people responsible? So you're going to look at it here and then say, who's the person? Is that internal auditor, owner of the business, external auditors, finance director? Who's responsible? They're asking. It's not like who's going to do it, who's responsible for it. Whatever it is done there, that person will be responsible. That's going to be your director there. Because for each department, the manager or their director will be responsible for. But here, when it comes to financial statement, it's a higher what do you call again? It's a critical task. It needs to be controlled by somebody on the board level. So you're probably looking at your finance director as the person may be responsible for that one. Okay, you may have different answers there, but if you want to choose a different one, you have to untick the other answer and retick the right answer. It's only one person there. Now let's look at the next one here. Signing the audit certificate for the financial statement. Who you think it is going to be signing for the audit certificate? This has to be done by somebody who does not have direct connection to the business, because they will be independently verifying your financial statements. That it cannot be the internal auditor, owner of the business. No way. External auditors, yes. Finance director is also internal, therefore he cannot sign the audit certificate there. And then look at the part B here. Identify which group will require the following information. Overtime payment. Who wants to know? It's going to be the payroll department, because they're the one who deals with that payments, aren't they? HMRC or HR department might not have anything to do with them directly, because they need this one directly to the payroll department. And then we'll look at the customer account that has exceeded the credit limit. So you're going to look at it, who might be interested in that one. It will be not your production department, because why they have to worry about the customer credit limits? HMRC, no. And sales department, yes, obviously they'll be able to find out whether they'll be able to still supply the goods on demand depending on their credit limit. Because if somebody's exceed their credit limit, sales department go and say, okay, if you make a new order, sorry, we cannot do that. Obviously, you need to settle some of your debts, and then we'll be able to find more goods on credit to you. The finance department often has to supply information to other departments in the business. So here, identify which department will make use of the information supplied by the finance function. The cost of goods return. So who you think it's going to be much more, relied on this? It's going to be the production department, because for them, they will acquire the goods for the production, and then they send the goods back. If it's returned, that's something to do with the production department, because it is not something they had to worry about directly with the warehouse. The cost of the faulty materials returned to the seller. Therefore, the goods are not gone out of the business to the seller. Therefore, it has to be go from the warehouse there. Information technology charges for the stock management system, it's also done by the warehouse, because warehouse is where you store your stock. You don't store anything in your production department. Production department is simply they're going to, what they're going to, they produce the goods there. They don't store anything. Storing of that will be going to the warehouse. Then have a look at that next question here. Asha has asked you to help with the planning her workload, and she has confided in you that she's struggling to meet her deadlines. So obviously, somebody working new, obviously she is, getting used to how things work around here, and then sometimes they may be overwhelmed with the task they've been given. Even though they expect to do that task on time, sometimes they may not be able to do it. But then again, Asha's already confided in you, and then you're going to have a look into that, what we can do to assist her. She asked you to help with prioritizing her work for tomorrow. She has been asked to provide some urgent information for a meeting at 11:30 a.m. that should take an hour to complete. Asha is not required to attend the meeting, so therefore is just submitting that report. Her daily tasks are as follows. So if you look at that here, this is all her tasks. And then also, if you remember here, uh, from that time onwards, from 9 to 12, she has to do certain tasks. But then after 12 o'clock, probably after lunch break, she covers the reception as well. So here, what they're saying here, there are some daily tasks there. Okay, there are daily tasks there, and then also, and what you need to do afterwards. So if you look at that here, yeah, 1 hour at the start of the day and 1 hour at the end of the day. So she probably will have to do something after that, early in the day. So if you look at that here, we only have times up to these things. So here, what it's expected you to do, complete the following table showing in order which you would prioritize work to enable the information provided to the meeting. So if you look at that now, Asha has to provide that email for 11:30. Okay, so the information has to be provided by 11:30. So she should normally would have done that by 11 a.m. So first job they do deal with the emails, it comes as a biggest priority, because sometimes there may be urgent emails require people's attention. So the person has to deal with the emails first. And then obviously the second job is going to be about provide information for the meeting. And then obviously you have to choose which one it is, because you have to process the payment. Then you can do the prepare the payment run. You cannot prepare the payment run without process the invoicing first. So invoices has to be the next one in the task, has to be prioritized. Then she probably able to do the prepare the payment run later in the day if it's possible, or has to be done on the following day, because sometimes if we cannot do them, you just try to let it run for the next day. And then that is why it's important to prioritize your task, because your payment run doesn't have to be done. If it cannot be done, you can do that on the following day. Why not? So here, despite your help, Asha is still worried about her workload tomorrow. Now she's worried we haven't done enough this week or today. She's going to be overloaded for tomorrow. So let's see what we can do. So here, identify the advice you would give to Asha. Call in sick tomorrow. That's the worst. Not going to do that. Speak to her manager and explain she needs help to finish all her tasks. Okay. And the third one is stay late and finish the task, which we will not recommend, because to maintain a healthy lifestyle and the work experience, it is very important you have to establish a good line of communication with your colleagues and your manager. And if you are really struggling with your workload, it's important you liaise with your manager to find a way whether they can assist you with it. Of course, it in a perfect world, they will be helping with it. Sometimes it might not be possible, but still, as be working in practice, it is important you create those kind of line of communication with all the people surrounding you there, because end of the day, they're your colleagues and they should be allowed you to help you with if you're struggling there. Of course, that is on a perfect world, but the answer is going to be that anyway. You'd not expect to stay late and finish the task, because it's certainly not fair for somebody new to stay behind and then might not be there anyone to help her anyway. So therefore, this may lead to more problems later on. So it's best is speak to the line manager. Here, identify whether the following statements about the use of technology within the finance functions are true or false. So if you look at that here, the first one is staff in the finance function should never use the information collected from the website as it not a reliable source of data. The word never again is going to give me some sort of a false narrative to it. Sometimes you may be able to use, sometimes you may not. So the word never straight away puts this statement as false. Okay, sometimes you will find all authentic data on websites. So it's nothing stopping you from using it unless it's from completely unreliable resources or sources. The next one is user information can be collected using mobile apps. Yes, that's really good because some of the apps track your details, keep informations there, and then obviously that can be used for useful purposes. So that task 2 is now done. Let's get to task 3. Let me just grab a little bit of water. Yeah, perhaps. All right, guys, sorry to keep you waiting. Yeah, now we're going to talk about CSR, corporate social responsibility, ethics, and sustainability. These are fundamental things for business to do whilst keeping their business afloat, but then also you have to have some responsibility towards things which is not directly associated with your business, including your surroundings, your society, and of course the environment there, and of course your employees. Identify whether the following statements about CSR are true or false. So here, corporate social responsibility is very important term when it comes to the current climate. So how things going around nowadays. If a business is completely what do you call hell bent on earning a profit, and then the accountants are facilitating those kind of things, it goes as a very negative way about portraying a business. People start doing boycotts, those kind of businesses, obviously move the business to some other places, and then of course it doesn't give you a fair narrative of the people actually working there as well. Even though they have nothing to do with it, those people are also painted on a negative light, and then that includes accountants as well, because sometimes accountants do facilitate these kind of negative scenarios, and therefore it is expected us to stand up to what do you call this CSR, ethics and sustainability, which will be something I take very seriously myself. That's the reason I ended up, being a teacher instead of being in the practice, because I feel I can do a lot better upholding these standards as being an educator instead of being somebody in the practice. Probably my voice may fall into deaf ears, but you never know, because it does take a lot of effort to uh, to act on the right way, because people can deviate for many reasons, but at the end of the day it's very important we hold the fort together, and then obviously not to bring the accounting profession into disrepute, because that is a word we also say. AAT likes that a lot. AAT likes when we do certain kind of scenarios and we have actually upholding the standards expected to be held by the accountants. So here, identify whether the following statements about CSR are true or false. It is only concerned with activities that benefits society. That is not wrong, right? Because if you look at that here, only concerned, that is wrong, because it also benefit the society, benefits the environment, also benefit the employees of a business as well. And then also the business itself wants to make some profit, and obviously CSR will allow you to um, obtain that one. Get the right balance. That's all it is. It involves all the individual in the companies taking responsibilities for their actions. Of course, there's no one left behind there. Everybody is responsible for everything around you, and that is how it's need to be ingrained within the business module. It should only be undertaken to improve the customer perception. That's wrong. If you just want to, do gaslighting or something, they call it like that way. It's just to show, just for the show. They also say here, they just want to see the public perception, how it looks, and behind the screens, they're doing all the nasty, dodgy things there. And that's not the reason. We do that is just to make sure for everything, perception of everything involved in there. Stakeholders have a vested interest in CSR as they will benefit from it in some way. So if you look at that here, these stakeholders are most interested in profit, who those people are. If you look at that here, there are certain answers: customers, managers, and shareholders. The best answer is going to be the shareholders, because the other two are not much going to be interested in the profit, because person invests money in the business. So obviously, if the business make profit, they also benefit themselves, because their investment is returning some of the like money they have invested back to them as a profit. And are they internal or external? The shareholders are internal. They are us. The shareholders are the people who are directly involved in the business. These stakeholders can offer incentives to persuade a business to locate to higher areas, higher employment, higher unemployment. This is going to be the government, isn't it? Because the government will say, okay, if you go set up a business in this part of United Kingdom, we will give you some subsidies, because what do, you're providing jobs to people, because that area, it has high unemployment there. The government can be that stakeholder, and then they are definitely external. The AAT Code of Professional Ethics for accounting technician lists 5 fundamental ethics. Identify two of the fundamental principles from this list. So if you look at that here, there are certain words, it comes up there. But the fundamental principles are 5. These are called the objectivity, integrity, professional, what is that again? Professional behavior and due care. And then the last one is going to be the confidentiality here. So here, if you look at that, the confidentiality and integrity are the ethics part of it. Okay, so then you have honesty, behavior, and action. These are what we call the behavior in kind. Okay, so this is nothing to do with the fundamental principles of it. If I won't read the right word for that one, I can read it out for you, because I can't exactly remember what it was. Give me a second, please. Page number 168. You probably might remember it better than me, because I haven't taught this subject for a while there. So it is called integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality, and professional behavior. Okay, so here the answer, this one, professional behavior and actions, not going to be part of the fundamental principle, because the action is not counted as that, because it's something results of their professional behavior. So the answer is basically it's going to be confidentiality and integrity here. The next one is Firoz is an AAT member working in finance function of a local business. On Friday afternoon, he is asked to help with processing the final payment run of the business. He notices a large payment with no recipient named. When he checks the invoice, he notices it is handwriting and he is unable to read the signature on it. The payment has been authorized by finance director, who's qualified accountant. Firoz queries this it with his manager, and she says that these payments are often made to a local supplier that is well known and should just process the payment run as it is Friday and everyone wants to get home. So now you're in a dilemma. You're looking at it now, you're considering what you're going to do, and Firoz is good if flag this kind of a situation there. They're looking at it here, identify whether the following statements about this situation are true or false. As a qualified accountant, the finance director will always act with integrity. Straight away, we're going to look at that word always. This is a key word here because it doesn't mean because you are a qualified accountant you're going to act with every time with integrity. No, sometimes some of you may notice this is human nature. If somebody's done even unknowing to themselves, they probably may not act with the right integrity expected from there. So this word always straight away put this whole statement into kind of a as an incorrect one. So I'm going to say it is false. As it is Friday, Firoz, second please. Firoz should complete the run as quickly as possible. It has been assigned, it has been signed, so it must be correct. Again, we have to make sure this, and that is the thing. It is because it is Friday, everybody wants to get home. Of course, there may be some problems with that. That statement itself is not correct because you should not run this because it has been signed and it should be correct. No, it's not. We have to assume it might not be. It could be a forgery. It could be something done without due process. So therefore, we have to think there may be something afoot, like the way the Sherlock says. Yeah, you just have to be careful. You need to make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's crossed. So you need to make sure you have to decide whether it's okay or is it good enough to proceed with this. But let's look at the next one. Firoz should complete the run, but leave out the invoice to investigate it further on Monday. Yeah, that makes more sense to me because if you have genuine doubt about something of a higher payment, because it's a large payment, you pay something, you go for the weekend, the time you come back on Monday, it may be too late if in case it's fraud. So you caught that before it was processed. And then what you can do in that scenario, you can withhold it until Monday. It's better to be safe than sorry. So here, therefore, I can just hold it until a bit later. Firoz is concerned that he may have been taken wrong action regarding the invoice payment. Now he thought about, okay, something must have been wrong because I withheld the payment. He goes to see the manager, but she has now left for the office for the weekend. So here, whatever decision he made earlier, Firoz thinks he's made a wrong decision. So what do you think he should do? So here, identify the two actions that Firoz could take from the following list. Check all the payments have been made. Contact the head of finance to discuss the issue. Go home. The manager has left. It's too late to change anything. Send an email marked urgent to the manager to inform her what action he has taken. This is one good answer there because if you look at that here, this one is potentially advise the manager of what's going on. And then also contact the head of finance because head of finance, the person who has written it, if you look at that here, the finance director has dealt with it. A head of finance, it might be the same person or somebody different, but not the line manager. That person might be available to discuss this because obviously it's good to go through with the people who you think it might be relevant to discuss with. You don't go home, because you still thinking of something can be wrong there. By going home, you just not done anything about it because you have decided to change your decision. In that case, what you should do, speak to relevant people to get this dealt with. Check all the payments that have been made. No, we can't check all the payments because this payment is still not paid. So therefore, that will not be a right answer there. Now click and move on to question number 4. This task is about processing bookkeeping transactions and communicating information. So here ITBK is coming back to haunt us. Nah, nothing to haunt. These are very easy, but we have to get a little bit extra attention to these kind of questions because these can be something of a little bit more requires what do you call it, some application skills. See this information here about customer and their references, and they have given you invoice here as well, and then ask you to do identify in which day book this transaction would be recorded. So if you look at that here, they made a sale to a new customer and the sales invoice is shown below. So therefore this is a sales day book because this is all going to be entered in a day book for a credit sales transaction. If you look at that here, this invoice was for 1st of May and due on 31st May. So it's going to be net 30 days term. So here, identify the customer reference for pet parrot cow. So if you look at that here, how they do it, they set up a company and this is how the codes are done. So if you look at that here, for A, they have AS001. Friends of Pets, they are the big, they're looking at not the O, they're looking at FP001. And the next company is Animal Sanctuary, AS002. Same as Perfect Pets and Co, PP001. So basically, they're choosing the first letter of the two words of the company, like two different words. They use that one, and then they use the next available number on the ledger for the last three numerical code. So basically, it increases the letters. If you look at that here, AP001, PP002. So therefore, the first two letters are unique, not just the first letter of alphabet. So if you look at that A, this is A001, A002, A001, A002, AP001. So it didn't go AP003. So be careful with this. In this scenario, we have to look at it. Pet Parade Company, it's going to be PP because PP, and the next on the line is going to be 003. So we're going to choose here PP003 as our company code. And then they're asking you here further down, invoice was manually recorded as £6,330 net in the day book. That has been manually recorded in the day book as £1,266. So if you look at that here, what is going to be in our invoice here? Okay, 6,330. The totals from the day book for May has been posted in the general ledger. Identify whether each of the following accounts on the general ledger will be debit or credited to correct the errors in the day book. So if you notice that now, there are certain things you need to change, because if you look at that here, in the day book, the total amount, if you look at that here, from the invoice, it's been recorded manually here, manually 6,330 pounds. And therefore, the VAT has been recorded 1,266. Then when they've done that, the totals from the day book has been posted to the general ledger. So we have to assume all three entries now therefore wrong. So if you notice that now, how much it's wrong by. So if you look at that, it is 30 pounds incorrect here, 6 pounds here. Therefore, the ledger control account will be incorrect by 36 pounds. But then again, they didn't ask you about the amount. They want to know whether there will be a debit or credit entry. Because if you look at that here, on the sales account, the amount would be 30 pounds higher on the credit side. So we have to remove it. To remove it, we have to debit the sales account. Similar to the VAT account was credited 1,266, which is 6 pounds higher. So to remove it, you have to enter that on the debit side. And if you do these both on the debit side, the other entry was, if you're done on the sales receivables ledger control account, RLCA, this was entered on the debit side initially. If you enter that on the debit side, what happens there? The amount is going to show a higher amount of assets. But now we have to remove it because the invoice is incorrectly entered. So that needs to be entered on the credit side to remove the incorrect balances. So here, there's a written task. 4 marks for this one. They're asking you here. You have been told about accounting cloud accounting system which automatically posts the invoice to the day book, ensuring the error above could not occur. Makes sense. you would like your manager to consider using a cloud accounting systems. What are the benefits of the cloud accounting system? What do you think about it as benefits you can think of? This one, what it does, you have to enter only one. If you enter your day books, it will automatically go from your day book, will go into your ledger as well. So therefore, you don't have to manually transfer the figures. You just have to type the invoices in your ledger accounts. And then also what it does, it automatically balances your books as well. It balances your ledger control account. It balances your VAT control account. It balances your sales account. It balances your cash book automatically. And what else it does? You can easily do a transaction like a transferring money from one account to another account, like petty cash book to cash book, or cash book to petty cash book. That's what you normally do. You're trying to withdraw money from your cash book to replenish your petty cash book. You'll be able to do that very easily. And then also you may be able to correct errors in your accounting systems as well. You may find the errors going through the auditing process. You'll be able to find the errors and correct them. And then also what you can do, you also can do recurring entries. Remember your standing orders, direct debits, those things you can set it up there. You can do those recurring entries often. And then also you can do, it's, you can reduce a chance of you making errors because you don't enter on many places. You don't transfer the numbers from one area to another yourself. It does it automatically. It saves time. Okay, so those kind of things you can put it down there in your own words. The options are a lot. You use 4 different benefits, you'll be able to explain that. And then also another good benefit of it, you don't have to have really good accounting knowledge to do everything in there. Simply, as a person with basic typing skills will be able to enter the data in the system. Of course, if they make an error, you will be able to find that error in the system very quickly. But then again, it requires minimum skills in the computer to enter these kind of things in the accounting software. So I'm going to just say 1, 2, 3, 4. I just put 4 there. I'm not typing anything in there. Just I'll let you do that one. When Pet Parrot Co. paid their invoices, invoice number 0013, they only paid £5,670 plus VAT as their other suppliers offer them a prompt payment discount. They assumed this was the industry practice. You had not agreed to a prompt payment discount, but vendor has decided to honor it on this occasion and allow the Pet Parrot company the 10% discount. Identify the adjustment for which of the following general ledger account as a result of the prompt payment discount has been given. So you give the prompt payment discount, therefore it is going to be sort of an expense to you for the business. If you look at the original amount of the invoice, it's £6,300. The whole, sorry, 7,560. That is the whole of the invoice balance, 7,560 multiplied by 10%, the invoice will be having a, what is that again? £756 discount. So if you notice that here, how much they have paid? They have paid 5670 multiplied by 1.2. Yeah, £6,804 they have paid. So basically they have taken £756 as a discount. They have considered that as a discount. They're asking you what accounts they're going to go to. Receivable ledger control account will have a credit entry because when you customers paying you, and if they also take a prompt payment discount, they all go on my credit side of it because it reduces the money the customer owes us now. Discount received have no impact because we didn't receive the discount, we gave the discount to them. But if your receivable ledger control account is credit, these 2 accounts has to be a debit because one of that discount allowed is an expense to the business. If that is an expense to the business, it has to be a debit entry. Also, remember, we are going to get less money from my customers. So we have to think about it as, oh yeah, of course, that is a debit entry here. And the VAT control account has to be same as the net account, because if that is a credit, these 2 must be debit, because if you look at that initial entry, when you do a sales, your receivable ledger control account had a debit entry, sales, and your VAT account had credit entries. So therefore, these two realistically will be a debit entry because they are basically reducing the amount we initially charged to a lesser amount now. Identify which one of the following documents will need to be issued as a result of giving the discount. So what do you need to do in that scenario when the customer has taken a prompt payment discount? You have to offer them a credit note. And then asking here, vendor has asked you to write to the client to advise them that the discount will be honored on this occasion and ensure that they understand the prompt payment discounts are not available in future orders. Write a letter to your contact at Pet Parrot Co. Sarah Brond, as requested by vendor. Your letter must be clear and structured appropriately. So now what they're asking you to do here, there are certain ways you have to do this letter. Because for this one, there is a way you have to structure it. The exam has given clear instruction how the marks is going to be given. You will be given 3 marks for the communication, like they basically saying what you say, who's the email to, the name, the appropriate greeting, those kind of things like that. And then also the appropriate sign off. How are you going to say? Kind regards, yours sincerely, yours faithfully, those kind of things. And then also something in the middle there just to say, okay, you received the payment. So you have to show the gratitude to your customer because you're not going to go and say to them, oh, no, that's not acceptable. You're going to say first, thank you for the payment for this particular invoice. And then obviously you can do that a little bit further. So your answer has to be kind of a structure, like, for example, you're writing a letter. If it's a letter, it's something formal. This is not informal as well. So here, for example, you're going to say to Sarah and the company name is Pet Parade Co. And obviously, you know, the address of that one is where it is. CV. So we're going to 123 Sheep Hill. So let's see whether I can bring the customer's company name here on the reference. There you go. I'm still be able to bring that here. So here we're going to say this. And then we're going to say 123 Sheeps Hill, Coventry, CV 12 7YH. And then here say, dear Sarah. And then you're going to say here a date. You can talk about a date, you know, on the invoice in a minute there. I'm saying the heading for this prompt payment discounts on sales orders. So that could be my heading there. So I'm going to just simply put it here like this way. Then here we're going to say first, thank you for your prompt payment for the your hold on. Now typing from lab for you for the wonder why. The mouse is moving for some reason. First, thank you for your prompt payment for sales invoice number 0013. I'll move the mouse. I think the mouse is basically giving me some trouble here. When I keep the mouse here. Yeah, okay. 013. Okay, let's see, will that stop me? No, it's fine, because when the mouse moved away, it's just going somewhere else. So like if I type now, it's not typing, so I need to keep right on top of this here. So here, this is what it is. Okay, I have set that one. Which was received with gratitude on, let's see when they have paid it. They have paid when? They didn't say when it was paid, so it's fine. Okay, with gratitude. The keyboard is moving. Much annoying, to be honest, because the thing should not move. I think it's possibly something to do with. Yeah. Okay. Let me turn this off. Then we're going to say what happened, because we have to say you have taken it, noted that you have applied yourself 10% prompt payment discount to this sales order. So this is what happened. Okay, so okay, applied a 10%, yeah, to this sales order. We get rid of that one. Okay, so what we're going to tell them, unfortunately, you're not qualified for this one. We didn't offer the prompt payment discount. So we can say, unfortunately, we do not offer this discount to customers. In this scenario, again, the mouse just moved without even me doing anything. The cursor moved to a different area. I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with it, but it's fine. We will say, in this instance, we will allow this discount as a gesture of goodwill. Okay. This instance, it's not going. There you go. It's working now. Any further invoices? See, again, it just moved the cursor for some reason. Any further invoices will be required their full payments in the future. I've said that, okay? Will be required, or will require. Yeah, we can say will require. Lucky we have this option here. Will require in the future. We will also offer, we will also, again, see the keyboard's moving everywhere. I'm not sure how I type anymore in this, guys. So I'll just write it down. Offer will also, we will also issue a credit note to acknowledge the discount for this instance. Thank you for your kind cooperation in this matter, and Do not hesitate to contact us in case of any further queries. Okay, this is how would I do it. Okay, and then also it's very important you find a way to have a closing statement to Sarah Brenner, because you know her name, therefore you say yours sincerely. Then you're going to say, no, spelling mistake there. So you are the person you're going to write that letter, Vanda. So Vanda is your manager. I don't know what's the full name for Vanda. Let me see. Vanda Boyinski. So she's the person. She asked you to write the email, but then again the letter, but you have to do under her name. Therefore, it's very important. Okay, so you use her name because you're going to say Vanda. Oh, we not say Vanda Maximoff. That's the Scarlet Witch. So yours sincerely, you're going to say Vanda Boyinski. What is that again? Boyinski. Okay, so we're going to type her name very clearly here. Boyinski. Okay, so this should allow you to given enough marks there, because normally it's very important to have kind of a good written skills. In terms here, you have 8 marks for this one. So it's very important, guys, you start developing that skills while you're at it. Okay, so let's answer this one and let's move on. I don't need the reference anymore. Let's see what's your next question. So here they've been given these tasks about control accounts, reconciliation, and using journals to correct accounts. This task contains parts A to F. Space Limited, ETC Limited, sells posters of images from space. Oh, nice. The receivables ledger at 30th of June shows the following balances are due from the customers. So you have seen all the customer names there, amount, and the total. Then obviously their codes. If the receivable ledger control accounts and receivable ledger account reconcile, what will be the debit balance? Enter the answer to the 2 decimal places. So what I need to do, I have to calculate all of those together. I just got the figures here quickly. Let me calculate it all. So I'm going to use the total there. Once I use the total, if I'm calculating it, I already saved it in my, here, let me find the previous calculations here. That comes to 41,000. 426 pounds 35 pence. Okay, so 441,426 pounds 35 pence. And then they're also asking the balance of the receivable ledger control account in the general ledger is a debit balance of 40,585 pounds and 70. Therefore, the difference between those two, it is this minus that figure. It is going to be 840 pounds and 65 pence. So you have that figure there. That is the difference. But then they are asking you, what could be the reason for that one? And this is how I sometimes do when I get a question like that way. I'll try and explain to the students. I normally say to them, okay, write 2 T accounts. One of them is going to be related to your control account. Another one is your ledger account. So when you do both of them, you'll be able to find out what could be that. And you put that scenario there. In this scenario, the ledger accounts are higher than the control account. The control account on this scenario, it's 840 pounds 65 pence lower. So here, a customer who's in credit having overpaid a previous bill has not been included in the list of customer in the receivables ledger. So what happened here in this scenario? A customer who's in credit having overpaid a previous bill has not been included in the customer in the receivable ledgers. Yes. So if somebody on credit, that means their balances are going on the credit side of my ledger control account. So what happened there in that scenario? The ledger control account is definitely going to show a lower balance. But since we didn't include that on the list here, see that list here, we may have forgotten about him. That amount must be a credit entry because these are all a debit entry. So if that credit entry is gone here, this will definitely bring this figure down. This figure should definitely come down if any customer on credit was in fact included in this list. So that may explain the difference. But next one, have a look at it. A discount allowed has recorded on the debit side of the customer account on the receivable ledger. So when you give a discount to a customer, basically it reduces the balance. What do? You enter on the credit side of their T accounts on their individual ledger account, ledger control account. But in this scenario, instead of that, we entered on the debit side on the ledger. If you done it on the receivable ledger on the debit side, any of these customer balances could be higher than what they should be, which may result in a higher balance, which in that case may explain the difference. That's my logical arguments towards it. The cash book at the end of June shows a debit balance of £8,332 and 18 pence. The following differences have been identified between the cash book and the balance in the bank statement. So if you look at that here now, these are the balances, and this is the balance before the error, and then the balance carried on after correction. So we are going to make changes here. Once we've done the changes, this amount will automatically be updated. As far as I know, it should be updated. So let's see here. The first one now. The bank statement includes some direct debits which are not included in the cash book. There are electricity direct debit of £187.12 and the mobile phone direct debit of £67. These are the things needs to be getting updated in my cash book. Okay, so therefore this has to be going on there. And then this scenario, they're both payments, aren't they? If they're both payments, they have to be a credit entry in my bank account because money going out. So here, if I'm going to add these two payments, which is £187.12 plus £67, it gives me a value of £254.12. So this one will be going here, £254.12. And here we're going to say this is going to be your direct debits. Straight away we decided that's the direct debits. And then they also have here the cash book includes the check issued to the supplier for 1,200 2 months ago. This was not included in the bank statement, which is not a concern for me now because these are timing differences. The cash book already had this information. Therefore, I do not have to update it unless that check is more than 6 months old. Then in that case, we need to redebit that cash book to cancel the old check, and we have to reissue a new check, which will be, in fact, for the same figure again, so to the customer or the supplier can encash it, because if they fail to do so, it's still our responsibility to make sure the cancel check, because the time is only 6 months. If it expires, we cannot do anything. But now we still owe the money to that supplier. Possibly they haven't encashed it. One could have resulted in lost in transit, or the supplier must have had it destroyed by accident. Could be for many reasons, but that doesn't hide the fact we owe the money to the supplier still. Okay, so we have to leave that alone for time being. The bank has charged the business £12 in bank charges, and that is not in cash book. Then again, we have to update the cash book. So if you look at that here, bank charges £12. Remember, guys, here all the answers were like in decimals, and this is not in decimals, but they didn't explicitly say to do the answer in decimals. So I'm going to do this in decimals and hoping this will work. Okay, but again, I'm hoping myself, because it is common sense, because if they're all in decimals, I just carry down with the same decimal places. Now if you see that here, the new balance carried down after you're done is £8,066 and 6 pence. The Space ETC Limited has produced their, hold on, you go one more. Let's say this. Cash book include a customer receipt of £102. This was a check that which was banked on 30th of June, does not appear on the bank statement to that date. So that means this is another timing difference similar to the cash check we have given to the supplier. This will eventually will appear in my bank statement once it's gone through the clearing process. Now let's see the next question. A new computer was purchased for long-term use in the business. This has been debited to repair and maintenance. What type of error it is? This is in this scenario an error of principle. Why? A computer is an asset. Instead of recording it in an asset account, we have record that into a completely different type of accounts, which is a expense account, a repair and maintenance. Therefore, we call that an error of principle. So in case if you record that under a different asset account, we'll call that error of commission. But in this scenario, it's not the case. So it is going to be just error of principle. So they're asking you identify the impact of the suspend account correcting this error. No effect at all. Because why? Suspense account will be only used if it's an entry like a single error entry, or you done two debits to one account and two credits to one account like that way, or you have a transposition error. Those kind of things will result in your trial balance not matching. So use the suspense account. But with the error of principle, you have a debit, you have a credit, but you have it entered in the wrong account. So therefore, this will not cause an imbalance. Therefore, suspense accounts will not be required, and you should be fine without using it. Okay, so here that question is also now completed. Now let's move on to task number 6. Task number 6, this task is about principle of contract law. This is new for level 2 qualifications compared to all previous synoptic assessments. So therefore you have to learn a little bit of this. Most of your publishers and your learning providers will be teaching you this as just theory. All right, just we'll talk about it. Probably do some group activities. You probably will be given some like a glossaries and say, oh, this is what it is. You just have to know what they are. Okay, but here they're talking about these cases are dealt with in the county court. So what they will get that on the county courts will be a civil law. Criminal law will be in the crown courts. So the criminal law, it's not going to be in the county court there. The burden of proof lies with the prosecution, which is going to be on the criminal law. Because if you're prosecuted, the burden of proof, the prosecution will submit all the evidences required there to obtain a successful conviction. But that's nothing to do with the accused. They say a word there, you are not guilty until proven. So therefore, the burden of proof will be on the prosecution there. So here, identify whether the following situation creates a binding contract. So if you look at that here, you and your friend each buy a lottery ticket and agree to equally share the winning if either wins. That does not create a binding contract because there's nothing on writing. It's just word of each other. And then there is no way on a court you'll be able to, what is that again? Prove it in case there is a dispute there. So therefore, this is not a binding contract. You are the last person to raise your hand during an auction before the auctioneer's hammer hits the table. Because when you enter the auction hall, you are basically giving yourself a binding contract when it comes to raising for an auction. Because you say, yeah, it's mine, yeah, £1,000, and there's no one else, proceeds to give a higher, the price. And then obviously, once the hammer goes down, you will be liable for that one because you have created a binding contract with the auctioneer there. So then here you send an email to confirm you want to buy a car you saw in your local garage. That does not create a binding contract because it's your intention to buy the car. It does not say you have bought a car. It's your own intention. You haven't signed anything from their dealer yet. Once you sign a contract with them, then we'll create a binding contract there. Your intention, it's just your intention. It's not enough to create a binding contract there. Now, next one is you enter into a contract to buy goods, but the contract is breached. This has caused you to lose money and you would like to make a claim against the seller. It happens when you buy goods from online Amazon or eBay or anything you're buying online, or you have done like basically go to a shop, you're buying something from a marketplace. Yes, okay, you enter into a contract to buy goods, the contract is breached, this is cost you lose money. Who would you like to make so you would like to make a claim against the seller. They're saying here, if a breach contract foreseeably cause economic loss, damages will generally compensate for this loss. Yes, that's true, because normally if you created an economic loss, you probably may be able to claim damages. Yes, it will probably try to compensate for that loss. And then the next one is, if the contract states the amount damage is payable if the contract is breached, this will always be the amount paid. No, because in this scenario, the word always, it is going to be something of red herring, because again, that is the estimation of it, because it could be the judge may decide to either increase it or decrease it. Case by case scenario depends on how severe or how lighter these possible what do you call breaches can be. So therefore the answer is going to be false, because the word always, it straight away discredits the whole statement there. Now let's go to the last question. So here again, we have to have a little bit of writing skills involved there, but then you're looking at it as a part of the parcel of this exam. There is the only way you can do it is do a little bit of a written task there. So there's a question with 5 marks here, and there's also a question with 3 marks here. So here, this task is about bookkeeping system, receipts and payments, and importance of information and data security. Marco runs a small business, marketing business. He has 2 members of staff, Joan and Jonita. They all visit clients, but make sure that there is always one person in the office at all times. Marco has one computer, which all 3 members of staff use. The password on the computer is 123456. So nice. So that is easier for all the staff members to remember. So they are saying state 3 risk to the business from using a shared computer with that password. So what could be the problems you may see there? So when you look at it here, it can be many reasons. Yeah, because that computer may have confidential data. Data can be breached. Okay? And also you may have details you may not want to disclose to the others, which with your personal reasons, you don't want to disclose all the information there. That could be also come into hand. Okay, then also if you look at that here, the financial data, your employee data, like as I say, your personal data can be exposed as well. That is also concerning. And then also there's a breach of confidentiality. Anyone can hack into that computer with a password. They just guess 123456, and that's it. All the information relevant can be printed out and been distributed. If somebody is not there, it could be easily breached. So therefore, there are many reasons you can put it down there. But as long as you state 3 risks to the business from the using the shared computer, and that should give you the full 3 marks there. You don't have to write an essay, guys. Just write it a simple answer. Simply say breach of confidentiality because the password can be hacked. Perfect. Personal details can be exposed. Perfect. Like that way, just keep it very simple. Don't have to write a big essay or big paragraph for explaining everything, because they don't ask you. They just want to see the 3 risks there. Okay, good. I'm just going to write 1, 2, and 3 just to see we have entered something in there. Otherwise, it will flag up unnecessarily. Marco does not really know whether the business has done well until the accounts prepared for the end of each year. He would like to understand how the business is doing throughout the year and perhaps be able to set targets for Joan and Jonita. Identify which characteristics of usual information is missing from Marco's financial current financial information. If you look at that here, you don't have the data on a timely manner, because if you look at that here, if you wait until your accounts all prepared at end of each year, you don't have the timely data, because you can do data in between the year as well. You can do a situational statement, but If you wait until end of the year, you have not enough timely data to make and set tasks for or targets for John and Jonita. Reliable, now consistent, understandable, now timely is the most important things because you have to wait for the whole year. So it's not good enough. Identify which one of the following types of information would be most useful to Marco to achieve his goal setting targets for John and Jonita. Budgetary information, inventory control information, sales invoices, taxation information. You don't need any of it, but budgetary information might be the best. Why? Because you can actually predict with your previous information some budget, like you do a short-term budget, 3 months budget, a quarterly budget, that's what they call it, biannual budgets, or we can even give them a monthly target. So this way, budgetary information might be the best, most useful information you need to set setting targets for John and Jonita. So the last one here, Marco is considering moving onto a cloud-based accounting system. We remember we done it on question number 4 at the beginning. It has been told it will allow him to monitor business performance throughout the year. He has been told that will automatically complete the data transfer of data from books of prime entry to the ledger, that it automatically completes the transfer of the data into the control accounts, that it also automatically reconciles the payable ledger control account and respective control accounts. Yeah, Marcos does not understand what this means. Good for him. Describe the difference between the manual recording process and the digital recording process. For example, of sales to customers. You must include the user book of prime entry, receivable ledger, and the receivable ledger control account. So what are you going to say here? In here, you have to explain to them how the system works. If you want to know about how the accounting system works, if it comes to the digital, the accounting, uh, please watch how I have discussed the Sage accounting software on my YouTube channel. There is a video there which is under UACS. The code is UACS, and that is the exam which were done on the previous qualification AQ 2016. You can watch that one. It's a long video, 1 hour 30 minutes or so, something like that, but it gives you clear indication of how the software is used to enter everything you have learned in your bookkeeping transaction and bookkeeping control units. So here, what they're talking about, what is the difference between manual recording and digital recording? So when it comes to manual recording, you have to tell them difference. So the way you have to explain to them, you have to paint how it's done on this side and how it's done on this side. And you're going to say what could happen and what could happen. So you have to look at both of it in a sense of way of giving an idea how they are both different. So what do you do if it's a manual recording system? You're going to say invoices, for example, a sales to customer will be entered into daybook, like a sales daybook. They're recorded in the sales book periodically, like a week or daily or quarterly, or like 2 weeks or a month. They will total those figures and then we'll enter them into the ledger control accounts, or we will say transfer into the ledger, general ledger. Like the sales daybook will go into the VAT account, sales account, and the receivable ledger control account. And same time, we transfer individual customer transactions into the receivable ledgers. So these things are 3 marks. So when you say that straight away, you get 3 marks. And then when it comes to the returns or discounts, they will be entered into their relevant daybooks as well, like sales return daybook and the discount allowed daybook. And what do? You reconcile them at the end of the month. You will transfer them to the general ledger. And then also on an acceptable time, you compare your receivable ledger control accounts against the receivables ledger account. So to see any discrepancies there, maybe you have missed a transaction over here or there. So you can say that as well. You'll be able to find a way to reconcile those things. But what it comes to digital, in the digital, only thing you do is you don't type like transferring the figures. You normally do what? You enter them, you enter it once. You enter it once in the digital bookkeeping system. Like you go click on customers, click batch invoice, you type the invoices. That's it. Everything else will automatically transfer into the general ledger and the subsidiary ledger of the customers. If you make an error, you just go and correct the error you made at the beginning of it. You will not be able to do something like, change or suspense account, anything like that way. You can simply go and amend the invoices as long you put a narrative saying why you have amended the invoices, and you should be able to do that one. The errors are minimized on this scenario, and it is a bit, what do you call it? It saves automatically, unlike the manual, the bookkeeping system. So you can actually explain those kind of things there. So I'm going 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll put 6 points there. You only get 5 marks maximum. So if you do 3 about the manual accounting and 2 about the digital, and then also just give a quick explanation about them. That's it. 6 marks there, guys. You'll be absolutely fine doing it. And then you probably don't have to even worry about writing an essay again. Just explain to them on a simple way, just a layman's term, because Marco is not an expert. It says there, Marco does not understand what this means. Just explain it in a simple way. You don't want to go expert on him. Don't go all Rambo. This is what it is there. I'm going to give you a 5-minute explanation. No, Marco doesn't need that. Marco just simply wants to know what it is. He wants to get on with his life. He got better things to do. He probably want to watch Match of the Day without Gary Lineker. So I don't know. Maybe different like that way. So guys, just keep your self, because you're level 2. You don't need to be an expert on everything. Just keep it very simple. On level 3, on the other hand, yes, it is expected. You need to know what you're doing there. Level 2 is just simple. Keep it simple and you'll be absolutely fine, guys. And let me say this exam is a really good exam to test your skills, how you do your writing. And then obviously this can be your foundation stones for getting to the next level. So let's see whether we have enough marks on this. So I'm going to press answer. And yeah, let's get to the last question. One more there. Don't forget that we still have this question number, task number 7. Oh, task number 8. Yeah, I did say it's 7 tasks. It's actually 8 tasks. My apologies, guys. I thought it's only 7 there. It's 8 tasks there. Those tasks about external business environment. Global Limited expanding their business to take advantage of the opportunities in the countries other than the UK, as they want to make sure they continue increase the profit every year. So identify the statement which best explains the meaning of globalization. What is the meaning of globalization? So here, globalization means buying goods from overseas supplier, so customer. No, and that's also wrong. You don't buy goods from a customer, from a supplier. So that's a wrong statement. Globalization means operating internationally at all level of the business. Yes, that makes more sense. Globalization means employing staff from different countries. Now that is not that. That's outsourcing or multi-sourcing. The identify whether the following statements about business and risk are true or false. Business exists only to make a profit. I hate that if they say that way. Businesses are not always for profit. There are business for non-profit as well. The non-profit organization, charities. So they are not there to make profit. So straight away, the only make profit, that makes it wrong there. Business takes a risk to make a profit. Of course, they all take a risk to make profit, because obviously you have to take a risk with the market. Uncertainty means same as the risk. No, it is not. Uncertainty means it can happen either way, this or that. It's not risk. Risk itself, you're knowingly doing it. Uncertainty is something you don't know. Identify the statement which explains what happens when there is deflation. Then you ask me, what is deflation? It's opposite to the inflation. Inflation means prices goes up, interest rate goes up, cost of living goes up. What's happening at the moment is inflation. But a deflation may follow an inflation, because it cannot always goes on inflation. Sometimes you get to a speed break and suddenly the market trends change. Therefore, you may end up in a deflation. So therefore, they will say interest rate keep rising. No, prices will fall temporarily. That could be, but the value of money increases continuously when it comes to a deflation. Because if you look at that here, when there is an inflation, your value of money is decreasing, because what you used to buy for £10, you cannot buy another week time. But when it comes to deflation, the value of money increases. That means that £10 may buy you more items. So this is what, when it comes to deflation there. The prices fall temporarily, that's wrong, because with deflation, it should fall continuously. If they say if it's a temporary deflation, then you say the price fall temporarily. They didn't use that word temporary here, so that therefore you have to consider the opposite answer to that, what they're saying here. Next one. Identify whether the following statements are likely to cause an increase in demand for luxury product. So let's say here, there is a general increase in household income. Yes. If you have a general increase in your household income, you have more disposable income. Therefore, you will be buying or potentially you can buy luxury product just to say, okay, I have too much money. And that can increase the demand for luxury product. Yes, of course. The cost of raw materials used to make products is reduced. Therefore, the demand, it's not going to be affected by that. Okay, because the luxury product, they will always set high prices there, so therefore there's always a demand for that. But if your raw materials is reduced, the business is not always going to be giving you an affordable price. Therefore, this will not be directly involved in a demand. Demand is from the customers. Okay, it's not what the business is going to put on the business. They will put too much item there, there will be less demand. Because if you think the raw materials price are reduced, the businesses are going to make luxury product at a lower price. Do you think it's demand for that now? No, it's not demand for that. People will have less money, they wouldn't buy. Average price of products increases, that will not going to be resulting in demand on a luxury product, because you're not going to worrying about that price. If that price increases, the price of your luxury product also goes up. So therefore, it will be less demand for that, because people may not be able to afford to buy that. This one is a really good example of it, because it depends on your income, not the cost associated with the business. So here, a government is concerned about the rise in unemployment in young people. They have a number of options they can take, but have communicated to the public they will not be increasing rate of tax. Look at them. What's happening in this country? Most of the time, this is all to do with tax. But again, I'm not going to go political here, but let's discuss this. Identify the statement which explains what tax is. A financial charge made by a business, a financial contribution made by the government to the business, like that, a financial charge made by government. So it is basically a charge made by the government because they want to run certain services, and you want to provide something, just bail out bankers. Yes, they will charge the tax from us. Just joking, but they probably use it for useful purposes when required. Okay, the funding, NHS, probably education, they all funded by taxation. Identify whether the following taxes are direct or indirect. Because if you look at that, the meaning of direct tax is something you pay from your own pocket directly to the government. And indirect tax is somebody who pays your tax behalf of you. You don't pay that directly. So therefore, a corporation tax, it's paid directly by the companies to HMRC. VAT, on the other hand, you are the end consumer, the person, the end user. You buy the goods, you give the VAT to the people you're buying the goods from, and they in turn, they will pay your VAT to HMRC. Therefore, this is an indirect tax. Because for you, you don't just record the VAT and pay to the HMRC from your expenses. Do you go and say to the people who are buying the goods, okay, I'm buying something, a television, cost you £500, £100 VAT to it. I'm not going to go and tell M&S, or sorry, John Lewis, you know what, I'm going to pay 500 to you. I'll pay 100 to HMRC as my VAT, so I'm not paying the VAT. It doesn't work like that way. You also have to pay the VAT to John Lewis. John Lewis collect that from you, and then they will pay what is they owed to HMRC directly. National insurance, it goes from your own pay pocket. Therefore, it is a direct payment. So it is goes from your own wages. I know you don't pay directly to the HMRC yourself, but it is going directly from your wages, isn't it? Because therefore, when you work, you pay the tax, and it is not paid by the business. You're not giving the money to the business. What business is doing? Your employer collects part of your wages and then they're paying it on behalf of you. So therefore, this is the direct tax. The last one, what identified two key principles of effective tax system. So therefore, they're saying here empathy and ease, they make no sense. Apparently, it's equity and the economy, because the more of the equity, more the tax is going to be. Same as a better economy means there is enough tax to what do you call handle all the pressure of the taxing. What do you call again? All the country system. So the economy has to be what do you call effective. So that's it, guys, with this one. We managed to do that in 1 hour 30 minutes because obviously I had some written tasks there. So therefore I slowed down a bit there to type something in there, and I had some issues with the typing system anyway. So yeah, guys, please like and subscribe to the channel when you can, whenever you do. I certainly appreciate that. I got more than 365. That means one a day in the last 1 year. If I put it that way, I have one subscriber every new day. So I certainly appreciate your support. And then, of course, I'm looking forward to do more videos in coming months, possibly with something to do with level 3s. And keep an eye out for anything if you're looking for like additional practices. I'm also have plans to do green light tests from the AAT websites in coming months. Possibly once I completed all the core units exams, when I have free times, I'll be going through some green light tests. The green light test is going to be uniquely for that one subject only. I'll be doing 3 of those in 3 different videos, and then probably may do like hundreds of different videos that way, and just keep you guys occupied as well. And then obviously, thanks again. Appreciate your support. Take care and all the best. Before we go, let's submit the exam to see how I did. Can't wait to see the results. Yeah, you probably might find, oh, love it though. They're giving me full marks for everything. So it's not bad. Especially comes to the task 4 and task 7. I don't see any marks because it says they're human mark tasks. Even though some of them partly computerized marks, you will not see that straight away. So you just have to wait for your final results altogether. But the rest of it, I managed to do well. So thank you guys. Appreciate your support. And then I'll look forward to seeing you all again. Let me just come out of that screen quickly. Take care, guys. Bye bye.